The Office of Multicultural Affairs is a department on campus that really focuses on bringing diversity and inclusion to students and faculty. It means being able to provide opportunities on campus to students or to faculty, whether that be in terms of advising students or mentoring students, and providing that type of leadership, as well as providing support for staff if they need it in terms of training, inclusion or diverse training, I guess. I found out because I was looking for a job on campus, and I was looking through the listings on Handshake, and I found the Office of Multicultural Affairs. Or we went by a different name. I forgot what it was.
Student programs.
Yeah, multicultural student programs. But I think by that time it did change. I'm not sure, but I was looking through for a job. I think the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, and I came across OMA, and it seemed like a pretty good fit just because I was interested in social issues, and from the description it felt and also marketing, it felt like a good mix where I could put in my new media skills, I guess, and so I felt like I felt like it was a good fit because I could bring in both of those, and it would be something that I'd be interested in. So. So I'm a diversity and inclusion educator. And I primarily focus on the marketing aspect, and as well as any visual content that comes out of the office. So again, like I said, that includes the logos, the flyers, and any type of media, I guess, that we put. So one of the things that we do is we try to put on different educational initiatives and programming, and what that kind of looks like is, for example, our $40 in Paris podcast. We go on and record and talk about a variety of social issues or things relevant to our time, I guess, as well as our social justice coffee hours, which are kind of the same thing but in a more live format, I guess. We provide a space where we're able to have constructive dialogue, and oftentimes we'll bring in guests, which are local speakers, to speak about a variety of social issues, whatever is relevant at the time and whatever we think the campus would like to see. So some of the topics that we've covered in the past, at least for the podcast, would be, we've talked about police reform, we've talked about anti-call-out culture, what that looks like, as well as some how to deal with problematic friends and family during the holidays. So yeah, we've had a variety of topics from then. In terms of social justice coffee hours, we've done topics ranging from sexual assault in communities of color to homelessness, as well as racial equity practices in policing. So we've done, as diversity and inclusion educators, we take on a more leadership type role. So whether that looks like facilitating an event, some of us have done that, as well as, or just organizing things. So that would mean getting the speaker together and just getting all the logistics of it, the time, date, location, really honing in on those skills. With the podcast, that can look like creating a topic from scratch, and doing all of the research behind that, and then making sure it's executed in a pretty, logistical way, I guess, making sure there's a good outline, and then being able to actually set up, the location to record, and as well as editing and stuff. So some of us will take on the role of actually physically editing and making sure that all the weird awkward pauses are taken out, as well as this actual video that we're recording is going to be edited probably by one of us. So in terms of like picking a school, I really was like drawn towards UNC Asheville just because it had like the new media stuff, and I really at the time was like looking into like going into animation. So like that's kind of what, like, I was just like looking up schools that like offered like different like animation programs, and also that were affordable because a lot of those were not affordable to me and like realistic for me, as well as just looking outside of the regular. Oh, I want to go to state. I want to go to ECU, which is like a big thing where I'm from. Like it's just close by. So I just wanted something that was like kind of different. But the other answer to that would be that it was one of the schools that I got accepted to. So, yeah, and then like that just kind of, the rest of the stuff really solidified it. So yeah, that's really how I ended up here. I think I have. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. Um, yeah, I mean, I think this job has afforded me like a lot of different opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have even forced myself to do. I wouldn't have pushed myself. Um, I wouldn't have like cared about my image as much, I guess. Um, but I feel like I said, like I know a lot of different like important people now, and I feel like that's valuable in a sense because I'm like now starting to be like a voice for like the students, and like bridging that gap versus like the everyday student that like isn't necessarily in one of these positions versus like someone that like is and is able to actually communicate like the like what's working and what's not. I don't know, I think the liberal arts core in general has like a lot of work to do. I think while I understand the multidisciplinary while I understand the multidisciplinary perspective and like the value that that brings, I think that there are some things that could be worked on. I feel like there are some things that matter a little bit more than others. I don't Personally, I don't see there any reason in me having to take four humanities classes, of which I can't. I have to take them like the way that it's formulated is that like they're really spread across your 4 years, um, and it's not like you can like really generally knock them out of the way anytime like at the beginning. Um, but I do see the value in it, and like I have like learned a bunch of different things from it, and like I can see like where you can like dip in different areas and like why it's useful. I haven't really thought about it like too deeply, or like how it could like change and grow. I just know that like I have like obviously like I don't want to be the person that's like, oh, how are you gonna suggest something and like expect us to change it, you know? I understand like that frustration, and I think that's like a big thing here, that like people are like demanding like changes and stuff, you know. I think I'm aware of it. Like I'm sure there are some people that aren't aware of like their demands and stuff. But I know that like that's not like realistic a lot of the times, and even if it is, like it takes time, and it would be something that would go like past our like stay here, so it would be affecting other people, not us. I do think it's important to create community on campus. Um, I think especially I'm trying not to say this in crude terms, but especially not being white, I think it's important to like create community on campus just because we are locally, like geographically, in a very white area. We're in Western North Carolina. Um, so I feel like it's like pretty important to like find people that look like you or that you can relate to, because for me at least, like I don't want to lose my values and what I stand for and like the people that I care about. Like I want to make sure they're protected, and just like being able to like have someone to like check in on you and you check in on them. I feel like that's really important. And then just like being able to like motivate each other, and like holding each other to a higher standard. I guess it really like pushes me to like go and try new things and like be like develop professionally. I don't know. I mean, I think for me personally, it took a while for me to find that community. I wasn't like I'm generally a very withdrawn person. Like I will, I'm an introvert. Like I don't like talking to people. I don't like going out of my way if I have to. So in a sense, like I think UNC Asheville did give me like a lot of opportunities for me to like engage, but it wasn't really something that like I wasn't engaging. I felt with the right people. Like it wasn't the right community for me. Like it was just more random, I guess, or not random. It was calculated in the sense that I was talking to like other new media majors and stuff, but it felt very. I was talking to other new media majors without direction, and it just wasn't. Um, it didn't work for me specifically, and like again, when you're a freshman, or a first year student, you you don't really have like the best direction of like where you're gonna go. So I think as like time moved on and like I was like slowly figuring that out, I was able to find people that like kind of met that criteria for me. Um, so yeah, and like through that I was able to find the little group that I have now that I connect with really well. So it definitely helps me, like motivates me, if they're, being active and like, applying for like a bunch of different positions or like going and just being active on campus. I feel like that helps me and like motivates me to be like, oh, I should probably go out and do something. Or like, it also kind of gives me support in a way because I know that like, if I'm, workshopping this event, that I have people who will support me and like will attend. So like, having them there kind of like builds that support for me and like kind of motivates me to like ensure that like something good is coming out of it, like that I'm actually making something good and something that like will actually contribute to like campus. um, yeah yeah, it's just for me it's a support system and also just pushing me to like be the best that I can.